Hello, welcome back to Defiance Garage. My name is Luke, and I'm here to show you my latest financial mistake. This is a 1986 BMW R80. Now, as you can see, it has been in a wreck. The story on this bike is I believe I negotiated $450 for it with a title now. Keep that in mind. The guy was riding it and he got rear-ended. The bike came up about, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet up in the air and landed back down on, I believe, the right side. So, see, the carburetor is all pushed in. That piece is cracked. This is very scarred. It doesn't look cracked anywhere. There's paint you can see from the road. The exhaust seems okay, actually. I'm not so worried about the dent. That's a custom brake lever that he had made for this, which, by the way, they did do quite a bit of custom work on this bike to make it work. These tanks are not very cheap to begin with. This is actually XR 650. See, Honda logo. This is all from an XR 650 with the same triple, same forks, custom spaced bearing of some kind. It actually should have a seal right here to keep water out. Maybe we'll see if we can do something about that later. Yes, the handlebars were totally bent and busted, as you can see. So I'm in the process of taking those off right now. I already disconnected those. The cluster was smashed, unfortunately, and is probably no good anymore. 48,500 miles. Smashed. The bracket may be able to be bent back. I would like to keep as much of this bike that is here as I can and just run it as is. That is my ultimate goal, is to see how cheap I can build a Paris Dakar rally style BMW R80. And this is a great start. So another thing you may have noticed, these are the absolute cheapest, worst eBay shocks. I've used them on several other things. Half the time you order them and they are just leaking from the seals out of the box. If you can avoid it, don't ever buy these. I'll put some pictures up of what the rear wheel looked like when I got it. It was completely mangled from the bumper of the car hitting it, and you can see that this is the rear brake lever. It got very mangled. Now, unfortunately, I have another bike on the lift inside right now. I don't feel like swapping it out at the moment. This bike is currently going to be an outdoor project, and for $500, I really don't feel all that bad about it, because just that's how it is sometimes. Now, let's look and see what the internals of this bike look like. And I see the cam right there, and from the lobes I see, it's far, far better than the other project bike, and that already makes me feel much better about just the overall condition of this bike. They said they shut it off when it fell, or he shut it off when it fell, and it does still turn over, but it's pretty stiff. First thing I want to do is just replace that oil pan, so I'm going to clean off this whole gasket surface all the way around. I'm going to cut off that little bit of gasket that's left there. I need to make sure this gasket surface is clean completely as well. And then I'm going to get the gasket ready, the new pan and the pickup. We're going to get it all put on here real quick. This is the oil pan that came off of when I got it. As you can see, it'll hit very hard on the bottom. Rushed in. This pan was not worth saving, so I did order new gasket, a new pan, which I believe is the right pan. This was it was difficult to find a replacement to that one, actually, because it seems like there was only 2 or 3 years maybe that is this style of engine. The old pickup actually was cracked. I can't find it anymore. I pulled it off already. If I do find it, I'll post a picture of what it looked like. It was just split right here, and oil pickup is not something I want to chance it on, really. on these, so I got a new gasket as well. So I did make a video of cleaning this off, and with the wire brush. Wire brush on the drill, but I had the camera pointed the wrong way, so you don't get to see that. These clouds are actually really nice right now. I'll show you those. See? It's pretty cool. In other news, here's my whetstone. I really like using these on the bottom of these oil pans because it'll remove any high spots of material and allow you to really seal them up together very flush. So it's WHET. I highly recommend using one with WD-40. And see, all these surfaces are very flat, and over time, or changing in and out perhaps, or you never know what high spots are there until you really stone it off. So it's gonna be my next step. So for the whetstone, like I said, make sure you keep it wet, use WD-40, but the goal is to go in small circles. You don't want to go long streaks anywhere. I did get the bottom of that stoned off. I am now going to probably stone that side. I'm thinking on this gasket, I may try using just grease to lubricate it so I could save the gasket next time that pan comes off. I've tried it on other stuff before and it can save the gasket, and normally it will not leak if you have a thicker style gasket. So this one though, I am going to use black silicone, the oil resistant silicone, just to be safe. So let's do that first. The pickup's going on, then oil pan gasket. Now remember here, just do them both equally, same time. Don't do all of one and then a little of the other. You really want to walk both of these in at the same time. See, just snug on one, snug on the other. That way you can't overdo it. And then by hand, make it in nice and even. There, nice and snug with a little quarter. That way it's not too much torque. That feels about right to me. Okay, I think that's good. Now let's go on to, I gotta put the screen on the bottom here. That's next. Now here's our screen, our pickup screen, and the retention clip that holds it in place. And on here, it's actually in really good shape. If you look, you can see the center did get dented a little where it smacked the ground or the pavement or whatever went through the pan, but it's not bad enough to replace. So this is what I'm putting back in. All right, time to put the new oil pan, new gasket on. I'm just gonna cover this with a little bit of grease and yeah, line it up, make sure it all fits okay, and put her on. Okay, so here's the first pass with the whetstone on this pan. What you're really looking for is the shiny spots. See how it's more shiny here on the inside and there's still corrosion here? That means one of two things. Either that stone that I had was going like that, cutting more on the inside, or this surface isn't really flat. Now, see, like up here, it's polished all the way across. That means I was holding it flat there. And up here, how it's polished there and on the outside, that just means it was higher on the inside, on these two lips, and right here in the middle. And if you can knock that down, it does really help it seal up. but even just hitting this once can make a big difference in how flat you are. This is a machine surface. This is supposed to be very flat. Now, like I said, over time, just tightening these, loosening them, heat, a lot of things can make that change. I am going to stone this just one more time, try and clean this up a little bit more, but then I'd have to get this pan on today. So, second stoning, you can see it's getting better. There's more polished surfaces. It's slowly coming around, but I couldn't get the bottom side of the motor perfect, so I'm not going to get this perfect. That's pretty good though. At least we know we have a clean surface for everything to bond together now. Well, here we are, just with a thin layer of any old grease covered both sides of that gasket. Anytime you have old paper gaskets like this, it seems like they really do take to the grease well. It kind of soaks into them, moisturizes them, and helps them seal almost, it seems like. It is now the next day. It's actually a lot colder today as well. I did notice a few other things about the bike, and we did get the pan on. I'll show you that. It's no longer exposed to the elements. That's good. I got a few other things I want to take care of the bike today as well. You probably noticed in the last videos, but this rear subframe is certainly bent, actually. If you look here, that bracket is far different from that bracket, and this shock is actually pushed up and like that. So I'm trying to piece together. I think it's best to break that loose, bend this bracket back as best I can, and then make this fit to wherever that place is. Try to get it in line with the swing arm, because I don't think the swing arm bracket bent at all, but I will have to look closer at it to figure that out. Carburetor's gonna have to come off as well, and the boot, and the tank's just sitting on there right now. I just figured now might be a good time to show just how bad some of the stuff on this bike is. I didn't really show that I did have the tank just setting on there. And you could tell, obviously, the tank landed hard on the right side. That's a pretty big dent. This scraped. The whole vent, or cap, did get pushed in, and actually I haven't been able to open that yet. We'll have to figure that out later. I forgot about that. Also, so these tanks actually are pretty expensive on eBay, and judging by the underside of it and how all this looks, it was an eBay tank. This back mount bracket bent very badly, as well as the bracket that connects to. And I'm pretty sure this is supposed to loop up and straight across like that. I'll have to look on, I'll have to research that. On another note, I did find some handlebars that I wanted to use. These are 1980s YZ 490 handlebars that I had in my scrap pile in the backyard. And they are much straighter than those, and I think they'll work just fine for what we're doing, so I'm going to use them. There is one more thing I wanted to do before the end of the day to help this bike out, this project. That's go into your backyard and find your parts pile and look for your Polaris Predator 500. It should be sitting right next to the kayak that you never use. And what you want to do is take a look at the front shock. We'll look into that bushing and see, but basically I'm thinking I can use these shocks because they do measure the right height. I have no idea what compression it is or what stroke it has, anything, but it can't be worse than the eBay shocks that were on there because it's got that on them. I did get the shocks off. I'm gonna go see how they'll fit. So the Fox Podium shocks were not a direct fit. A combination of the bushing size in the end and the overall length kept me from using them, but I haven't given up on possibly being able to interchange pieces between what I have and these Fox shocks to make it work. But really, the shocks were not my concern at the moment. The swing arm was. You can see here how bent it is, up and to the right on the far right side. You can see further down the swing arm where it's straight. Well, here we are. I purchased an oxyacetylene torch kit. Pretty nice one at that. Because we're done asking this to move. We are now going to tell it to move. We're bringing all the heat that we can in a last effort to make this work. I know this is a crazy setup right now, with the beam in there, but I have this arm of the swing arm rested on top of the dolly for the oxyacetylene torch, and then this beam is meant to push this side down and flat without me having to hit it or anything. It's quite a bit of weight. It's just resting in there. There is nothing holding it there. I'm going to try and stay out of the way of it in case it does fall and fling that direction. But I think I'm going to try and use this torch. I'm going to heat up this area here and probably this area right here. Now I did notice that this brace in between here is actually bent as well. It's only slightly bent, but that is bent up and over also. So let's start there and see if we can get this whole thing to twist back down this way on both sides. Guys, I think it's working. That seems better. And actually, I did notice about halfway through as I was heating it up, it lifted up and off of the dolly. Look at that. It's not touching it anymore. That means it's pulling this. It must be pulling this side up, which is okay with me. So long as they're level, that's what I care most about. And, yeah, this support here is still higher over on that right side. Also, I have the axle shaft in place and through, and that way I know that it is aligned with the left and the right side. I know that they are in line, and that's keeping it where I want it to be. Boy, we're getting closer. That's exciting. Let's keep going. Well, I guess since that didn't do a whole lot, and since this area is hot right now, I'm just going to keep working my way down this way. I think I need to isolate the heat here and here in these areas and hope that it shifts a little bit more this way. Because if it goes just a little bit more, I bet I can get the amount that I need right here to really make this tweak the way that I want. Oh, I hear it moving. That scared me. I'm going to call that progress. I think we're moving the right way. Right here. I think that's looking better. Not quite there, but better. I have a tiny gap here I've been watching, hoping that it'll move enough to contact that. That's kind of been my gauge. We're not quite there. You can still see it's a little twisted. It is getting easier to remove that. Remember, our axle shaft was totally bound up before. It's still a little bound up. I think we're like this, but it is moving. I'm going to try putting a little bit of weight suspended off of right here to try to tweak this at the same time. Maybe take that pry bar weight off as well. Need to keep the pry bar. By the way, this pry bar is probably 20, 30 pounds. It's not light. It's a good bit of weight pushing us in the correct direction that I want to go. I hate how sketchy that is, just balancing there. Here we go. How about a power washer? That's about 20, 30 pounds of weight now, torquing us this way. And a little bit of extension, giving it even more leverage of, pulling it the correct direction. It's what we want. See, you don't need a fixture when you can just MacGyver one. Yay. Oh, that's so silly. That's probably going to fall here soon. I should really put a nut on the end of that, but let's just try not to touch that. Oh, and here's our gap right now. Probably, quarter of an inch, I would say. Let's see if that gap tightens up even a little bit, either from it twisting the correct way or just settling down the correct way that we want. Well, I'm not sure if it's any better or if the whole thing just moved in the vise, maybe. Definitely seems better. Blew a hole in it. So I was worried about. Yep, just moved a little bit too much heat right there, I guess. That's okay. That's small enough I can weld over it. I don't really care that much. Oh yeah, I can see it. It's still crooked, but it's a whole lot better than it was. And frankly, I don't know if I can get that any better without melting this thing. But that might be good enough to put it back on the bike. Well, it looks like these wheels I ordered might actually be different when I compare the patterns on the outside and stuff. And also, this one has a piece here that presses into a bearing to press everything together. I may be SOL on using this wheel. So I was attempting to put this plug in this side. The way that the swing arm works on the R80 is you have these two dowels that thread in on either side of the frame into a bushing that's inside of the swing arm. This thread, however, appears to be kind of messed up. It doesn't want to go when I first turn it. So I have a tap. It's actually the right size. We're going to try putting this in there and see if we can clean those threads out. Good way to check if you have the right threads is you can line them up and smush them together like that. Right there. See, we got the same thread count, same thread pitch. Seems to mesh really well, and this appears to be the right diameter. There we go. Nice start by hand. Definitely on the thread and just cleaning up some burrs, it feels like. You always want to be very gentle when you are first starting cleaning up a thread with a tap. And feel it. If it suddenly catches or if it looks like it's going in crooked, stop. And really, that right there could have been enough to clean up what I was feeling. I'm also going to try using the back of this piece, since this thread at the beginning could be messed up or flat and causing this to mess up. So let's see if I can thread it by hand backwards. It starts, see? Well, maybe it'll go forwards now. Still only goes like one turn and then kind of catches. Cleaned it up just a little bit more with the tap. And then I ran this in once. See, still catching a little bit, but that's pretty good. Happy with that. Now let's put our swing arm on. Ah. Well, I can see for one, it's this way. I hadn't even thought about that. Well, that is better. Oh, I don't know. It is close. Is it close enough to keep? Is it close enough to ride and not notice? So we have our swing arm and our wheel mounted. I have a laser level sitting up here on the ceiling. We have that running pretty well down the center, middle right there. We have that laser level running pretty well center with our bike, both vertically and horizontally. And when we compare that laser level to our wheel, it tells me a couple of things. So one, up here we are at 1 3/4, but if I come to the back, oh, we're still at like 1 3/4. Well, maybe we are straight this way. I thought it was like this. Well, but anyways, if I check top to bottom though, 1 3/4, and see like 1.5, 1 1/4. I had thought that it was like this, but that actually seems okay. Yeah, the laser level's telling me the same. I think I'm going to take it back off and reheat it again. I don't have very much time right now though, so I'm going to leave the swing arm and work on a couple other things. One thing I noticed, we have a pretty big crack right here. Let's pull this valve cover off and see what it looks like in there. Also, I want to remove this bracket, pull the broken relays out of here, try and clean this area up some more, and get a look at all of it. Broken stud on this side, kind of milky looking oil. Well, but overall, everything seems pretty clean up here, and the rocker assembly seems just fine. That's what really matters, right? The stud is broken off on that bolt, so now it's not going to come out correctly. I'll have to address that. And actually, the head itself is cracked around that hole. You can see a very small crack down there, but it's not catastrophic. I can deal with that. So let's do a little grocery list as far as what we need to do to get this thing ready to start. Okay, first, we need another boot for this carburetor to go on to the intake here. I ordered one. It's on the way. We can bottle feed it gas. So that'll take care of the carburetors on both sides because this one is still in place. Well, that should have us covered in the way of fuel. So that leaves electric. The whole electrical system on this bike got kind of mangled in the accident. However, I did kind of luck out a little bit. So here's the remains of one smashed relay, right? These two screws holding it on. This is what's left of the little plastic cap on top. I went on eBay and I actually found a jumbled up box of loose relays someone was selling for one of these bikes for like $10. Sure enough, in that bag, we have this guy. And I don't even know what it's a relay for, but it does match the knob that we have on top. If I pull off this cover, I'll bet there's there's the two screws that go in right there. So let's swap this out. And the reason I'm swapping this out right now is because before you go putting power onto something, you really don't want to have any loose ends or cut wires or anywhere that the power can, not be directed the right direction or ground out to the bike. If it grounds out to the bike, it could blow a fuse, and then I'll be chasing that issue and not know what's wrong. So I'm going to give us the best chance of everything working, replace all the electrical stuff that needs it right now. We also have this guy. Don't know what it is. Looks like a power wire. And the reason I'm saying that is because down here on our positive wire, there's this guy that got ripped off. And I can only assume that was this wire. And it's red. That's a good sign that it's positive. As for ground, This is the only ground wire I've really found. I don't know if there's another one back here that needs connected to a battery. Also, we have this that I found. I'm pretty sure that's our start button, but I can't be certain. So I'm going to leave this all wrapped up in tape like it is. Maybe get to the bottom of that later before we try and start it. Oh yes, I also wanted to take this guy off, solder back together these 3 or 4 wires that got cut. But yeah, let's get to work on some of this electrical stuff. Right, Snoopy? All right, gotta give the neighbor dog a quick pat. Hi, buddy. Now this part kind of becomes a puzzle. It's a bit of a fun puzzle because, see, this is smashed, but we have 4 prongs on the back that go to certain wires. We need to be sure that we are going to the correct plugs and wires, otherwise... Oh, it's just a fuse block. Okay. Well, that's simpler than I thought. That's cool. So that means that this is just providing power to something. And if you look at this fuse, actually, see how it's bent like that? That means it got really hot at some point and probably almost blew. But it might still work. Let's see what ran where, though. Okay. We have this half, and that should tell me where they all came from. So this wire up here, top left. There we go. Okay, top left. This one. For that wire. Okay, that's on. I'll fit this right back on over it. Let's get this guy off. And then we put him here. And this also makes sure that we have the correct power source going to the correct output, meaning they're on the same circuit, sending power from here through the fuse to there. Well, and then this one, bottom right. This guy was totally disconnected. I'm not sure why. I don't think I did it, but put him on right here. Well, there we go. That is... I'm not sure what this is about. I'm going to ignore it. Well, actually, I can ignore it because it's just a dead end. It's blank, basically, going through this plug because this is the source. It's the furthest on this side of the wires, and it runs out to nothing. We'll ignore him. All of this runs to the tail light. This is the positive. I'll hook that up onto the battery. Let's put our cover on this so that we don't short out anything. What a cool little cover just to access to get to your fuses. I like that. That's a good design. Cool. Totally insulated. No way that can short out anywhere, right? I'll have to run in those 2 screws to that bracket later. And actually, I'll bet this is power for everything on the bike. This seems like it may just run to our starter, which I know is right here within the case. I opened up the factory connector a little bit with pliers right here, shoved it back on. I'm going to squish it on. If this is an issue later, I'll replace it. I think it'll be okay though. Well, there we go. That means we are ready back here with our positive terminal. Let's move up to the handlebars. Ouch. Looks like 3 or 4 wires to solder. Okay. I better check the air box as well before we go starting. Turn it like this, maybe? There we go. Okay. Oh, wow. It's a lot more complicated in here than I thought. Look at this. I'm going to have to look up what that stuff is. But anyway, here's our filter and our intake. Yeah, that needs to come off. Oh. Ha. It fell apart. This whole unit is the filter you buy then. Okay. Well, now I know that there's Nothing in here. That's good. But now, how about we go onto the handlebar? There we go. Good as new. Okay, looks like we got one Phillips head there and maybe another here. Oh boy, that's a pretty cool mechanism. That is very cool. Oh no. I broke it. Oh, I broke the thing. Just kidding. Look at this. This ring goes to this chain, this little hook that pulls on both your throttle cables as you turn the throttle. This way. Yeah, and then it pulls it in like that. I gotta clean this up, make sure it's not catching anywhere, and look for burrs and pieces of metal that are sticking up and rubbing the inside. Same for the inside. I gotta clean that up too. I'm actually gonna put our broken, busted cluster onto the bike first, just to see if like anything lights up to tell me if I'm getting power or anything once we hook the battery up. But see, there are pins. You have to make sure those line up with the correct ports on the plug. Cluster's on. I guess it's battery time. This side positive is this side. Whoa. Easy. But always hold on to them if you have the nuts and bolts for the terminals on battery, because it's stupid to have to go buy some if you're throwing them away now. That's why I hoard everything. Now the kind of sketchy part. Got our positive terminal on. Time to touch the ground onto the negative side. And we are looking for sparks at the terminal, as well as like clicks from any relays or, yeah, any signs of, oh yeah, smoke is what you don't want, by the way. Okay. No sparks. No smoke. Seems good. Then let's attach this. We'll try turning our key and see if we get life to anything. This is a danger zone right here because the battery's loose. You do not want the positive terminal touching the chassis or ground anywhere at all. So we'll watch that closely. Make sure our battery doesn't move, because that would be bad. Now, do we have life on the cluster? No. That's fine because our key is off. Oh, got some life. Okay. I heard something click back here. Something just came on. Okay, power is on. Turn the key. Oh yeah, this switch. What do you think? Horn or crank? I'm gonna say crank because it's red. I'm scared to push it. Nothing. Neutral safety switch? Maybe? Because I'm not in neutral? Because that should have made either our horn or the starter go. It didn't do anything. Alright. There we go. We're in neutral now. Well, maybe now, if I hit the mystery button, we'll crank. Nothing. Woo, that's the horn. Scared me. Well, that means that this one that came unplugged is the starter. I'm going to turn the power off. Let's not have power running to it. That can sometimes damage connections. Connect it like that. We'll shove it back in. Connection holder. Hold this out here. Now let's turn the key. Click. Okay. Contact. Nothing. What if I put it right there, where it is connecting? Nothing. We don't have any more lights on at the cluster. It's not really telling me anything's wrong. Is there a kickstand switch, maybe? No, there is no. Let's pull off this cover and get a look at our starter. I'm gonna turn off the power for now. Underneath this cover is where our starter is. That's why I'm thinking I should pull it and get a look. There could be a clutch release switch. I think there is. See, we have two wires running up here to our clutch. And the only reason you would have two wires running up here, I'll bet it won't let you crank it over unless if your clutch is compressed. Well, I can hold it just like this, so try this again. Contact. I thought I heard a click. Let's pull that cover. Everything does look good on our starter. This would be our signal wire telling the starter to kick over. We now have a better connection on our negative. That could be the whole issue. Contact. Nothing. What if I bridge the starter? It's these two posts right there and right there. Do not touch the body when you do this. Oh. Okay, we have power to the starter, but nothing engaging it. It must need a signal from this as well or something. That's a good sign. I think I need to buy another one of these. Eliminate that as a factor of maybe not working. We're getting closer. This is good. Great news, everyone. We got it to crank. I did have to buy a new switch. See, this is what it should look like. It did crank just a tiny bit. I'm going to put oil in there so we're not sucking it up, so we're not turning it over without pulling any oil. And then I'm going to crank it over some more. Let's see how it sounds. You're probably not supposed to, but I'm running the cheapest Master Pro engine oil in this. Glub, 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 glub. How much? I don't know. Right about now is a good time to check and make sure you're not spilling anything all over the ground. Nope. Looks good from down here. Looks like we're not even on the stick yet, so gonna need some more. You can see right there, our dipstick's about half, so I'll give it just a little more. And then we're gonna crank it. Sounds pretty healthy. I don't see any oil. That was a weird noise. I don't really see any oil up here yet. We'll come back to that. I should probably replace the oil filter while I'm here, actually. I didn't think about that either. Here is the oil that came out of that oil filter housing, and it does not look great. It smells okay, not super gassy. It's just hadn't been changed in a long time, but let's see what this filter looks like. It's the weird two-piece style. I wasn't expecting that. That's good to know before I order another, though. We'll get that oil out, too, before I crank any more. Here we go. Valve cover put back on, throttle hooked up, and the push start. The clutch is hooked up so I can hold that easier. Let's see if it'll start and run now. I think we need more gas. I did notice this carburetor is leaking a little bit of fuel. That could be part of our problem. I got our choke on now. Maybe now it will start. More gas. try a little starting fluid. It's really cold out. Here we go. Oh. Okay. Let's try choke off, maybe. Try choke on like halfway. These carbs do need cleaned for sure. We know that. Something was clattering there pretty good. That didn't sound right. Did I lose oil pressure? Okay, to me, that sounded like rod knock or something very bad just kind of started happening. Or we lost oil pressure possibly. I'm not sure what happened, but I did add a little bit more oil in because we were about the halfway mark after letting it sit a little while. And I did notice our little electrical box over here had fallen down onto the motor, and that could have been vibrating, making that noise. I'm going to try starting this one more time just to make sure it's not rod knock, and if it is, this is going to be a really short video. Well, that sounded okay. Maybe it was just that little electrical box. I'm going to give it a little bit more gas then. Giving it the gas. That could be part of the problem. I was in gear. There it is. Neutral. No clacking. I think we're only running on one cylinder right now. There you go, idling. A little bit of oil being burned off that exhaust. Holy cow, it's idling now. And that's probably the last of the gas that was in the carbs. So that was kind of interesting. What I did here was I put my hand over this intake because I think this diaphragm might have been stuck or something. That was kind of interesting. I think we're going to have to do some carburetor work on this thing, but we heard it run. I don't know what that clattering was. I'm going to guess and say it was this hitting on that box, or perhaps it was the shock rubbing there. But that sounded pretty promising. I like where this is going. Thank you for watching the BMW R80 video. Hope you guys liked it. If there's something you want to see, if you like how I describe things I'm doing, or if you just want to see purely fixing the bike and getting it on the road, check out the shorter version of this video. I'm sick right now, so I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of working on the bike, but I figured this was a good spot to call it on this video and call it a part 1. Part 2 will come soon. In part 2, I really hope that we get some time off-roading the bike, maybe driving it to the off-road park. Thanks for watching.